When you hear the word conqueror, what comes to mind? Do you think of fearsome and mighty men who rule over territory with an iron fist? Surprisingly, conqueror is not directly associated with tyranny. One can conquer in many different ways, and in the world of One Piece, those possessing the traits of a conqueror unlock a special type of power known as Conqueror's Haki, or the color of the Supreme King. Among all the Supreme Kings that we know of, there is one man who only recently showed the prowess of a Supreme King. That man's name is Roronoa Zoro, and today we will be talking about what makes Zoro a conqueror. As a warrior, what one must conquer before all else is firstly himself. For it is in those moments of difficulty where we transform into our ultimate beings. Zoro is a character in whom, with each and every single challenge, he walks away from it stronger than how he entered it. He is no stranger to adversity, as that has been the story of his life. Be it growing up as an orphan and only having his desire to be the greatest swordsman there is driving him forward, or coming face to face with that dream and being dealt a crushing defeat. Zoro's life has always been incredibly difficult, but all the while, he doesn't stop to pity himself. He simply pushes forward, refusing to stop until the mountain ahead has been sliced cleanly in two. What makes Zoro particularly interesting is what he aspires to be. The world's greatest swordsman is a very selfish and straightforward goal on paper. Becoming the strongest around means isolating yourself from the competition and standing atop a throne only the truly extraordinary can sit upon. However, we have seen Zoro be prepared to sacrifice even his own dream, his life's ambitions, for the sake of those he cares about. Perhaps the best example of this would be the battle against Kaido and Big Mom, and oddly enough, it is in this exact same situation where Zoro first showed the traits of a Supreme King. Remember, it was Zoro who dove into harm's way to stall the combined Hakai of Kaido and Big Mom, a technique which may very well be the strongest in the series up to this point in time. There was no hesitation nor fear in his eyes. In that moment, Zoro's dreams didn't matter. All that mattered was halting this catastrophic blast, even if it meant his end. Shortly after this, following a barrage of attacks from the invincible Kaido. With his captain now down and out and his back against the wall, Zoro mustered up the last of his strength to deal one more devastating attack to Kaido, and in that instance, his own petty goals in life couldn't have meant less, as the very life of his captain was now being threatened. Though his attack did not fell the monstrous foe, it did in fact leave a permanent scar, something that had not happened to Kaido in over 20 long years. When it came down to the wire, when the man in which he answers to was on the verge of death, that is when Zoro's will resembled that of a conqueror. The spirit of a conqueror is not limited to one's desires alone. The beautiful thing about human beings is that fighting for those we cherish tends to make us even stronger. When we have exhausted every single resource, when there is no other option left other than to fight, that is when we evolve to conquer the challenges before us. In the heated deathmatch against King the Wildfire, it's like thinking back to his origin, thinking back to his why, to tame the famed blade Enma and defeat his enemy. The only man fitting to be the right-hand man of the Pirate King is the King of Hell. Zoro is the very embodiment of indomitable will, the warrior spirit. It is a trait that all men possess, but not a trait all men can hone. You must be able to take gross amounts of abuse and come ready to throw away your livelihood if that's what it takes to tear down the wall in front of you. Time and time again, Zoro has endured hell many times over from adversaries, being pushed to the brink only to persist and overcome the odds. In this regard, Zoro and his captain Luffy are a lot alike, and it is only appropriate that both bear the color of the Supreme King. The biggest difference though is Zoro has no mythical fruit power. Zoro, as far as we know, is an ordinary human being from a dingy village in the East Blue who scratched, clawed, and fought to become the man he is today. And he did this with no double fruits in tow, but through years of intensive training and most importantly, an unshakable resolve to be the very best, like no one ever was. Nobody becomes the world's greatest swordsman by being second best or succumbing to mortal wounds. You have to be built different to acquire the same status as someone like Dracula Mihawk. Motivation and willpower aren't always enough to keep on going. This is where obsession comes in. When striving to reach a certain goal or threshold, that unhealthy obsession to continue ahead on the treacherous journey will carry you where motivation cannot. In Zoro's case, his dream of becoming the greatest swordsman on the planet is his reasoning to exist. For if he cannot be the strongest, then he does not deserve to be alive. Fulfilling this lofty promise to his friend Kuina, who we actually found out is Zoro's third cousin by the way, means more to Zoro than life itself. The one person he could never beat, the one mountain he could never climb slipped through his hands, forever gone to time. But that doesn't mean he can't climb an even bigger mountain and plant his flag at the top of it. But beyond his all-consuming desire to be the absolute best in his field, Zoro is capable of leading whenever the need to do so should arise. Just don't depend on him to lead you to a specific destination, as he will more than likely find himself lost. Zoro understands his role among the Straw Hat Pirates perfectly. He is second only to Luffy, yes, but Zoro does not overstep his boundaries. He only inserts his authority when absolutely necessary. Take for example, Usopp's leaving the crew in Water 7. While the rest of the crew happily and gleefully welcomed their departed comrade back onto the Sunny with no objections, Zoro was the one who put his foot down, for Luffy's sake at that. Zoro had no issue with Usopp rejoining the crew, but only after he apologized. Zoro refused to work under a captain who was willing to be disrespected by his own men. I believe this moment is a perfect representation of the kind of character Roronoa Zoro is. He might be aloof and chill 99% of the time, but one thing Zoro will not tolerate is the compromising of himself or those he holds dear to his heart. Zoro is like that older brother figure who spends all his time either working out, eating, or sleeping, but his disposition is not to be taken as weakness. Zoro will defend himself as well as others in a heartbeat. Perhaps that is what makes a man a conqueror. How far are you willing to go, not only for yourself, but for those you love as well? In a story like One Piece, it is all too easy to get hung up solely on just how strong a character is or just how badass a character is presented to be. But in the case of Roronoa Zoro, he's actually a deeply nuanced character behind all the brawn, all the muscle, and all the badassery. That's what makes Zoro a conqueror. He is not a one-note character. He is not someone who is strictly about fighting or about getting stronger. What makes Roronoa Zoro a conqueror is that innate, unrelenting desire to be the absolutely strongest no matter what. And on the contrary, on the opposite spectrum of that, it's that same innate, unrelenting desire to protect his friends, to see their dreams through to the end as well. Roronoa Zoro is a magnificent character. He is a fantastic character even, and it's no surprise that he is so loved by millions of people around the world. Zoro represents the everyman. We all know what it's like to start at the bottom and become something great over time. We all know what it's like to want to protect your friends no matter what, or your loved ones no matter what. What Zoro represents, there is a piece of that within all of us. All of us, much like Zoro, have the potential to awaken our inner conqueror. Alright, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Before you even make your way to the door, smash that like button for me. I love you and I appreciate you. And if this is your first time seeing a video of mine on your feed, welcome to the kingdom. You know what to do. Make sure you subscribe, not for my sake or partially for my sake, but for your sake as well, because when you subscribe, you are guaranteed some of the very best One Piece content on the market. That's not a lie, that is just a fact of life. You guys be easy, and I will catch you on the flip side. Stay gold.